VOA's Aru Pande joins us live from the White House. Good afternoon, Aru.
Good afternoon, Peter.
Although it was a private discussion, what did President Obama and the Holy Father talk about?
Well, they talked about a number of issues, but mostly they talked about shared values. We heard in Jeff's story about the Pope's comments on climate change. He also talked about the protection of religious liberty, and that theme, those two themes were common in both President Obama and Pope Francis's comments to the audience. They also talked about protecting those who are marginalized, giving refuge to people who are forced to flee their homes. And this message really resonated with people who were listening in the audience. You heard a lot of cheers, applause, and nods of agreement, especially when the Pope talked about climate change and making sure that we leave a planet to our children.
Well, how was his message received this morning?
People were visibly moved, and not just because they were getting a chance to see a pope, but this particular pope. One woman said to me, "This man stands for tolerance, he stands for humanity." Another woman said, "You know what, I'm Catholic, I'm 200% Catholic, but I'm more Catholic today because of him." So there was this real sense of admiration, of inspiration from Pope Francis in the words and the message that he has conveyed, not just here at the White House, but throughout the world.
Well, a few moments ago you were at the White House briefing. Could you tell us what transpired at the briefing?
Well, everyone during the briefing, all the reporters were curious to find out exactly what happened in these one-on-one talks, but Press Secretary Josh Earnest did not divulge any details. In fact, he said there would be no readout. What we do know is that the Pope and the President met for about 40 minutes in the Oval Office after the arrival ceremony. The only person I believe was in there was the interpreter, and it was a private conversation meant to convey those shared values that both the Pope and President talked about during the arrival ceremony. But in terms of what exactly they talked about, we don't know, and we will not get a readout of that meeting.
Now, Aru, tell me, what about some reports that some invited guests made it uncomfortable for some officials at the Vatican?
Well, the Vatican and the White House played down some of the controversy surrounding some of the invited guests, and they basically said, look, there were about 11,000 people on the South Lawn, people from all walks of life, and that those were people here to hear their message, and it reflected the diversity of the United States. So they really played down some of the controversy surrounding those who were invited to the arrival ceremony today at the White House.
Before you leave us, Aru, what was the interaction between President Obama and the Holy Father?
Well, you could tell the deep admiration. You could see it in I think the President, both when they were speaking in the Oval Office before the reporters were let out, the big smiles on their faces. The White House talked repeatedly about the warm welcome that this first family wanted to give the Pope. This was the first time that President Obama, First Lady, both of his daughters, and Vice President Biden and his family were all on hand yesterday to receive the Pope at Andrews Air Force Base when he arrived. That was unprecedented, and it was an unprecedented welcome for this Pope who was on his first visit to the United States. So there's definitely this deep admiration that the President Obama wanted to convey, the deep respect, and also those shared values, protecting religious minorities, fighting climate change, eradicating extreme poverty. So these were all issues that I think both world leaders wanted to highlight during this visit.
Thank you very much, Aru. We'll have to stop right here. Thanks to you once again, VOA's White House correspondent, for sharing your insight with us today.
Thank you.